Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. Today we have my winners and losers of the 2024 NBA free agency. So just like the draft, we'll have some teams, we'll have some players specifically, we'll have even agents too. But yeah, it's just gonna be the winner and losers and how every team's gonna be looking at going into next season. Make sure to like and subscribe, go into the description and submit your video ideas, and let's get on with the video. Starting off with my first winners of free agency, it's gonna be the Sacramento Kings. To start off free agency, they re-signed Malik Monk for an extremely cheap contract. Malik Monk signed a 4 year, $77 million deal, I believe, which is just under $20 million annually, whereas some people thought he's going to get over $25 million annually by maybe the Thunder, maybe the Orlando Magic. The 76ers also had money to throw around, but he took a pay cut. He's staying in Sacramento, and it's looking like he might have made the right decision. They lost guys like Alex Len, Sasha Vezenkov, Davian Mitchell, Harrison Barnes as well. But they're able to get, obviously, the big guy himself, DeMar DeRozan. That was a huge signing. Jalen McDaniels as well is going to make a good defensive impact on that team. Also, Jordan McLaughlin. So I think it's safe to say the Sacramento Kings have kind of moved up tiers in the Western Conference, where they're no longer with the, let's say, third tier of teams, like maybe the Pelicans, maybe the Warriors, maybe the Rockets, teams that are fighting to get into the playoffs. This team's a very solid playoff team, and at one point we can maybe see them compete for a championship. But with the combination of getting Malik Monk on a cheap contract, stealing DeMar DeRozan from the Los Angeles Lakers, the Sacramento Kings are definitely winners in this year's free agency. My first loser is going to be the Los Angeles Lakers. They did absolutely nothing this free agency. They re-signed LeBron for a 2 year, 101.58, I believe, $1 million contract, which puts the Lakers just beneath the second apron. Goodbye, LeBron, making sure his team doesn't suffer financially. But during the real free agency, they did absolutely nothing. They lost a guy who was starting games for them last year, Torian Prince, and shot very well from three, to the Milwaukee Bucks, and in return, they didn't get anything back. When you think about the top guys in the NBA that were thought to be available this offseason, you think about Donovan Mitchell, DeMar DeRozan, Trae Young, maybe even Paul George, Klay Thompson, and they just struck out on absolutely everybody. No one wants to play for the Lakers. It's just tough right now being a Lakers fan. Um, my only hope, I guess, is maybe a Cam Johnson trade. D'Angelo Russell in a first for Cam Johnson and Dennis Schroeder, maybe. I mean, that's probably not even a good deal for the Lakers themselves. Cam Johnson fits this team, so if they want to try to get him somehow, some way, go ahead and do it. They have been absolutely stagnant, and they've only got worse this offseason. Del Connect is also not playing too well during the summer league. I'm not worried because Brandon Miller is kind of similar, but just something to know. Next winner is going to be the Dallas Mavericks. This offseason, they did lose Tim Hardaway Jr., Josh Green, and Derrick Jones Jr., but in return, they did end up getting Klay Thompson, Najee Marshall, and Quentin Grimes. So overall, this team has definitely gotten better. Last year in the finals, the Mavericks definitely struggled with their three-point shooting between, Kyrie Irving, obviously, but this didn't really help Kyrie get better as a shooter. But between PJ Washington, between Derrick Jones Jr., they weren't hitting their open threes. One guy who can do that, though, is going to be Klay Thompson. One guy who can do that, though, is going to be Quentin Grimes. I think they're surrounding shooters around Luka and Kyrie. The defense I definitely worry about a little bit, but I do love the contract that they got with Najee Marshall as well. And just like the Kings did, the Mavericks stole a player from the Lakers. It was Klay Thompson. So the Mavericks are pretty easy winners for me in this year's free agency. My next loser is going to be the Denver Nuggets. Something pretty similar to what the Lakers. I mean, the top teams in your conference are looking to get better. Maybe even teams beneath you who might have even passed you, like the Kings, while you guys just stayed still. There's talks that they could get Russell Westbrook. I don't really think that raises their ceiling at all. So I don't really know where that's going to go. They lost Contavious Caldwell Pope to the Magic with, I think it was a 4 year, $84 million deal, maybe more than that, but it was more than $20 million annually. The Nuggets just weren't able to give that. So that was kind of expected, but they did not bring anybody in to help replace him. They brought in Dario Saric, who can be a nice stretch five, who could be a good backup center. So you no longer have to rely on guys like DeAndre Jordan and not or Zeke Naji to give you minutes. You did draft Deron Holmes, so maybe it makes up for the lackluster free agency. But right now, this is definitely an hell of a free agency for the Denver Nuggets. My next winner for free agency is going to be the San Antonio Spurs. This year in free agency, they lost nobody. I mean, they did lose Devontae Graham, but he wasn't really a rotational piece for them. They ended up getting Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes. Chris Paul signed for a 1 year, $11 million deal. Probably too much money annually, but there is no such thing as a bad 1 year deal, especially when you're a guy who's nearing his 40s like Chris Paul. So I have no problems with that one. Harrison Barnes, they received him in the DeMar DeRozan sign-in trade. It was a three-team trade, and they actually got an additional first-round pick just for taking on the Harrison Barnes contract. So basically, the Bulls weren't willing to take on that Harrison Barnes contract, so they added the Spurs, and in return, the Spurs got a free first-round pick. I think they killed the DeMar DeRozan trade, and I think they made a great signing like Chris Paul, who's able to help the development of your young guys like Victor Wembanyama and Stephon Castle. If I had to make a guess what their lineup would look like next season, probably saying Chris Paul, Devin Vassell, Harrison Barnes, Jeremy Shohan, Victor Wembanyama. Team could possibly make a play-in tournament run. Off the bench, you have guys like Trey Jones, Steph Castle, Keldon Johnson, Zach Collins. That's a very solid team. Next up, you have the Milwaukee Bucks, and you can kind of see the theme here with the losers of free agency. It's these teams that are somewhat older and they're looking to win right now, but really did not add anything this free agency when they didn't even win a championship last year. So this year, the Bucks they did add Torian Prince, but they lost Malik Beasley. I'm not sure if that's a lateral move. Malik Beasley was a very good three-point shooter for them last year, but there were talks at the end of the playoffs or right after they got eliminated how they wanted to kind of retool this roster whether that was going to be moving Chris Middleton, moving Brook Lopez and looking to build around Dame and Giannis, or if it was just going to add more pieces. And so far, they haven't done anything. Now, could they still trade a Brook Lopez to maybe a Memphis? Sure. Maybe the Lakers? Sure. Could they still move Chris Middleton for a young player, maybe a pick or two? Sure. But right now, they haven't really signed any or showed any signs of doing that. There's been no reports. There's been no rumors that they've been able to do that. So right now, they're getting an L. And you can't tell me with a straight face that you think the Milwaukee Bucks would beat the Boston Celtics in a 7 game series. And honestly, I'd argue that they couldn't beat the 76ers. They couldn't beat the Knicks. They might even be able to beat the Cavs. Maybe not even the Pacers. I don't know. The Bucks, in my opinion, are not in a great spot right now. I think they should retool. I still like building around Dame and Giannis, but right now it's not looking good. My next winner is going to be Paul George and Tobias Harris specifically. Now, I'm not talking about their team, so you might look at this thumbnail and say, oh, it's clickbait because I have these guys as winners, where in the thumbnail I had them as losers. Their teams, I think they both overpaid for Tobias Harris and Paul George. The Pistons gave Tobias Harris 2 year, $52 million, which is $26 million annually. And Paul George got a 4 year maximum deal. That's crazy. If you told me at the end of the playoffs or at the end of right after the 76ers got eliminated last season that Tobias Harris would be making 2 years, $52 million, I would have said you were crazy. And if you're telling me that 38-year-old Paul George will be making maximum money, even a 37-year-old Paul George for 2 years will be making maximum money, that's crazy. I think the 76ers definitely overpaid, but shout out to their agents, man. They got the deals done. And I'd argue that Paul George was arguably in the best spot in this year's free agency, where he had basically all the leverage. My next loser of free agency is going to be the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, did they get DeJounte Murray in a trade? Yes, and that's going to help their guard depth a lot, or more specifically, guard play. But they lost four rotational pieces this year in Dyson Daniels, Jonas Valanciunas, Najee Marshall, and Larry Nance. In return, they have DeJounte Murray, who's, yes, is a solid player, and they also ended up getting Yves Missi in the draft, but I don't think this team improved too much. The big hole on this team right now is definitely that center position. They drafted one of the rawest players in the draft class in Yves Missi with, I think, pick 21, was it? And they haven't even looked to sign a center. Could they be in the talks for maybe a Brook Lopez, maybe a Walker Kessler, maybe one of the other centers that are available right now, Mitchell Robinson? Sure. But like I said before, there have been no talkings about it, so I don't really think if we're any close to be making one of these deals. I still think they should look to trade Brandon Ingram for high level center and maybe a pick or two. Right now, I don't like the way free agency has gone for the New Orleans Pelicans. My next winner is going to be the Phoenix Suns. I just think with so little money and little room, like little wiggle room and cap space, the Phoenix Suns got it done. Now they did lose Eric Gordon and they did lose Drew Eubanks, but they ended up getting Monte Morris, who's going to be, or who was, and kind of still is, one of the best backup point guards in the league. And they did get Mason Plumlee, who's going to be a great backup center for them. I think right away, Monte Morris, obviously his job's going to be to keep the ball moving, not stop the flow of the offense, get KD, Book, and Bradley Beal open shots, and I think he's going to be able to do it. One of the biggest problems for the Phoenix Suns last year and even last offseason, where we thought, was that they had no point guard. And Monte Morris coming off the bench to give them good point guard minutes, I love this a lot. And really, with Mason Plumlee, they just needed another guy to go out there and play basketball. They also had a good draft where they took Ryan Dunn in the first round, and in the second round, they added Kevin McCullough, who I'm pretty sure is going to the Knicks, though. My last loser and the last one that we have on this list is going to be Jonas Valanciunas of the Washington Wizards. JV signed a 3-year, $30 million deal with the Wizards, which would make him the starting center next year, putting Alex Sarr at the power forward position. But not only do I think he was underpaid, I also think that he should have picked a much better team to go to. Teams like the Lakers, the Grizzlies are just two teams I could have looked to sign or sign and trade for Jonas Valanciunas that I thought he could have got upward of 18, $19 million. If I was Valanciunas, I'm taking a 2-year 40 over a 3-year 30 any day of the week. But he went to the Washington Wizards, and not only did he go to a terrible team, he's on a terrible, not terrible contract, but he's on a contract where he's definitely underpaid. Now, I don't know if this is his agency or not, Wasserman Sports Management. I mean, I'm like 60% sure. I searched it up. This is the best I could find. If it is, they did a bad job. If it isn't, I guess it's an unnecessary stray. But I feel like Valanciunas could have found a better situation for more money, or maybe I'm just wrong about the market on JV. I'm not sure. But overall, it's a no for him. That's going to be it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe. Go into the description and submit your video ideas because it's the off season now. It's going to be tough to get these videos out when the NBA season is not going on. Maybe the trade slow down, no more free agency. Summer League will be cool. I'm going to make some content on that. But make sure to like and subscribe, submit your video ideas, and see you next time. Peace.